Hello, and welcome to the 35th episode of Course Place. I'm so glad you've chosen to join me for today's conversation. In today's episode, I'll be talking about finding community. As always, if you like what you hear, please leave a review and/or comments, follow my podcast, and tell your friends. Also, please follow the podcast page I've made on Facebook. If you would like to contact me via email instead of a Facebook message, you can email me at corachin@mailbox.org. If you are new here, welcome. I'm your host, Cora, and I'm so excited to have you on this journey with me. Before I get into the topic I have chosen for today's episode, I just want to say that I didn't really have a particular truth talk in mind to share for this episode. I'm sorry about that. However, let's get into this week's episode. I hope that it is an encouragement to you, as it is a topic I think a lot of people can relate to. Now, with all that aside, let's get into it. I need to share a quick disclaimer first, though. I am not an expert on this in any way, so I don't want you to think that I am good at this or that I always get it perfect. I am only a human and I have flaws. I just want to make sure that you all keep in mind that these are things I also need to work on in my own life as well. I also just want to share different things I struggle with sometimes too. Community is so important and so vital to have, especially as Christians living in today's world. As unfortunate and hard as it is, our world is so isolating. We think that we can do everything by ourselves, but that is prideful and we need to have community around us. Just like I have mentioned before, we have got to have people around us to support us during struggles. I am not at all trying to say that anyone in particular is being prideful by not wanting community, and I am also not trying to accuse anyone of doing that. I'm just saying that sometimes people don't understand the importance and benefits of having a good community around them. Something that I've been desiring more for my own life recently, as of the recording of this episode that is to have more community around me. I have some friends, but I definitely want to find more. Having friends you can talk to in the midst of struggles is so helpful and beneficial. I have seen the amazing benefits and blessings of having people to walk beside me in trials. It helps. It may not completely resolve your struggles, but it does help. I think as we get older and our interests or hobbies change, our friendships and relationships with others change too. It can be hard sometimes, though, when that happens. However, as hard as it can be, it is reality a lot of time for people. Sometimes, finding community can be tough because there aren't really any opportunities to make new friends. That can happen for many reasons. It can be due to being homeschooled if you aren't part of any activities for people that do homeschooling. It can also be due to not living close to anybody. If you don't go to church, maybe you can't be around many people very often because of your health, or there could be a lot of other reasons. I know I may have sounded like a broken record on the podcast at times in recent episodes, but I want you all to understand just how important community is. As a community, we can come together and make this world better when we spread the gospel to unbelievers. Someone I think demonstrates a good example of this is Paul. Even though he was a persecutor of Christians at first, back when his name was Saul and before God temporarily blinded him and changed his name to Paul, his life was changed for the better. He wrote some of the New Testament books we read today, like Philippians, which is one of my favorites, and several others. Having community matters, and it is so helpful. It can be hard to make new friends, though, when you are in a new neighborhood, new school, or a new job. Sometimes you can find really good friends in those places, though, so don't be discouraged if that hasn't happened for you yet. It takes time and effort. Some people may not want to be friends, though. If that is the case, I am so sorry. That is hard, but it does unfortunately happen sometimes. When that happens, it can be tricky, but you have to keep persevering and don't give up. If you give up, you might miss out on some potentially amazing friendships. When I was younger, I was very outgoing and talked to a lot of people. Now that I'm older, I still talk to a lot of people sometimes, but it depends on the situation. Even though I am generally more extroverted, I still have trouble making friends at times. I think part of it is because of past hurts making it harder to trust people. Another part could be just not having as many opportunities to make friends. Friendship is an amazing blessing from God. I was reminded a few times recently, recent as of the recording of this episode, I mean, that we need to have friends around us, and I was also reminded of how much I need community as well. Please don't isolate yourself in times when you are struggling. Find someone you can talk to. I know it might seem hard or scary, but it can help to talk about it with someone. I usually find it helpful to talk to someone when I'm struggling. Sometimes, it can be hard to talk about it though. In those moments, I think it's important to remember that when someone truly cares about you, they won't judge you for having struggles. In fact, they have probably even had their own struggles too, and maybe even with that situation. No human on this earth is ever exempt from trials because our world is broken from when Adam and Eve sinned. I know I have mentioned that a lot in recent episodes, but I feel like it is important and needs to be said more often than it is in today's world. By isolating yourself in hard times, that might make you feel lonely and struggle more. I don't want people to feel lonely. Please know that you can reach out to me at any time. I would love to talk to you. Even if you just want to say hi, I would love to hear from you. Doing this podcast is super fun for me, and I have really truly enjoyed doing it so far. Sometimes, what you may need when you are struggling is a distraction. One example in particular of this could be talking with a friend or a family member. I know I have gotten a little distracted on the episode's topic, and I apologize for that. It just happens occasionally when I start out on one topic pretty well, and then I end up going down some rabbit trails. It's not necessarily intentional, but when I'm writing out my script for each episode, that happens. Maybe it makes the episodes better though. I'm not sure. You can let me know. Maybe I will even put a poll up through this episode, probably through Spotify only, and ask you all to vote on which one you like better. If you want to vote and you are listening through YouTube, check out the community page on my channel and vote there on the poll I will have up. I generally prefer to write my scripts out word for word, but sometimes I will go a little off script for a second if I feel like I'm confident enough. Back to our original topic of overcoming loneliness with connection, I just want to say that finding people can be hard. If you attend a church, I would suggest seeing if they have any Bible study groups or small groups that you could go to. I am currently in a small group at my church, as of the recording of this episode, and I absolutely love it. They don't meet during the summer like they do during the school year. It is for college age, up to 30-ish years old. I have made a few friends through that ministry, and I love it so much. I definitely need a group like that more often in my own life. I love being around people. When I'm around people, I usually feel energized and happy. When I'm not around people as much, I tend to feel lonely and sad. Sometimes, though, being around people can be a little overwhelming too. I think it depends on who you are with and what you are doing with them. Even though I am generally more of an extrovert, I like to be by myself occasionally too. Being alone is good, and being with people is good too, in moderation. You don't necessarily want to spend all your time with other people, because you won't get to do things on your own, but at the same time, you don't want to be by yourself for too long, because that could lead to mental health struggles. You have to have balance in your life when it comes to that, also with other things too. If you don't have balance, that could become a negative thing. Be with people who you know will encourage you, especially in hard situations. It may not make the hard situations all better, but it definitely helps. Then, you can even be there to support others when they face trials. We need to come together as the body of believers and support each other through trials. I think we can make our world a better place if we all start making an effort to do that whenever we possibly can. It won't always be easy, but God will give us grace, mercy, strength, and patience when we need it. He freely offers us mercy, grace, and strength through the hard times we face in life. He wants to be with us during trials. He won't leave your side or abandon you during your trials. That is something I know that I need to remember more often in my own life as well. Finding community can be tough. It can feel discouraging sometimes, so I want to offer a little bit of hope right now before I wrap up today's episode. It may take some time before you feel like you have found your community. My grandma told me one time, somewhat recently, as of the recording of this episode that is, that it took her and my grandpa 5 years of living where they do before they found their people. When she told me that, it made me feel very happy for them. I love hearing about how happy it makes them. It can be hard, though, when someone else gets a blessing that you desire. Just because they got it and you didn't does not mean that God doesn't care about you. It just means that He probably has something different planned for you, and that is okay. It's normal, and I think it happens for everyone at some point in their lives. My grandma also shared a verse with me one time, and I thought it was encouraging to me. It's Psalm chapter 84, verse 11. I will read it in the English Standard Version. It says, "For the Lord God is a sun and shield. The Lord bestows favor and honor. No good thing does He withhold from those who walk uprightly." Hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you did, please follow, leave a comment and a review of my podcast if you haven't already, and please follow my podcast page on Facebook so you never miss an update. If you have any verses you'd like me to read on a future episode, or if you have any topics you'd like me to talk about, you can email me at corachin@mailbox.org, send me a message on my podcast page on Facebook, or a voice message through the link in the show notes, and I will get back to you when I can. Hope you tune in next week for the 36th episode.